Good evening. I'm Rick Dancer. Welcome to Get Real with Rick Dancer. And tonight we're going to get very real. We are talking about an incident that happened 5 years ago at Umpqua Community College 5 years ago tomorrow. When lives were lost, people's lives were changed forever. And there's no way to really explain that. There's no way to explain it. Before we get into the topic, I want to make sure you guys know that we have wonderful sponsors who are amazing, who sponsor the shows that we do. And Chris Dental, Dr. Michael Bratland, a dentist here in Eugene, is our sponsor tonight. And the thing about Michael is he actually has a clinic down in Roseburg as well. And he lived in Roseburg at the time 5 years ago when this shooting happened. And because he sponsors the show, a lot of you have gone in and seen him and said, oh my God, this guy's awesome. Because he's not your typical dentist. You know, he wears jeans. He's really, they're serious about what they do, but they don't take their job seriously. They are very careful. They're COVID compliant. The guy is so crazy. He gives out his cell phone number to all of his patients, which I'm one of, and my wife too. He gives them out to all of us so that if something's going on and he's not on, and it's a weekend or something, you can give him a call if you're having a dental problem or something. And as you get older, that happens more. So he's a great guy, and he's really honored to support this program. And I have great clients because we don't sit here and pitch them throughout the whole show. They let us do things because this is the topic that people want to hear about. So anyway, if you're in the market looking for somebody, if you have trust issues with your dentist, if they're not your favorite person to go see, you got to go talk to Michael, because he and his staff will be your favorite person after that. I'm just going to punch up your guys's comments as they come, if I can. And but because I want to pay attention to the conference that's going on here. So we have with us, added to the stream, we have Sheriff John Hanlon from Douglas County. And you guys can introduce yourselves as well. This is Janet Perkins. And then we have Justin, and we have Kimberly, and then we have Brenda Dean. And they're in Rose. You guys are all in Roseburg. We're here in Eugene. And I think I just want to start with Sheriff Hanlon. Let's kind of run through what happened that day 5 years ago tomorrow. And you guys, we're not going to focus on that as our conversation tonight. You're going to hear from families, because I might as well just do this. Janet's son, Quinn, was murdered. And Justin and Kimberly's son, Trevon, was also murdered. God, here I go. And Brenda was in the room, in the classroom, watching her fellow students dying and surviving. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to talk about life today, because some positive things have happened. And the whole purpose of this show is to keep their memory alive, is to remember that this happened, and not to forget that they were people, and they had value, and they still have value, and they had parents, and they still have parents. And just because they're not here anymore doesn't mean they're not sons and daughters and friends and cousins of people still living here. They're a part of Roseburg and Douglas County. And so, Sheriff, why don't you start and kind of take us through what happened and what was going on, okay?
Sure. Before I do that, if I could, I'd just like to share that in remembrance of the 9 victims of this tragedy at the college, I'm wearing my commemorative badge for the 9 victims of the UCC shooting. We wear it every year during the entire month of October.
Really? That is so awesome.
Yeah. So October 1st, 2015, started off like any fall day for me. I was in my office here, getting caught up on emails and phone calls and voice messages and doing the typical work that you do in the morning when you get to the office. Had the scanner running next to me, so I could hear all the radio traffic that was going on. And at 10:38 in the morning is when everything began to unfold. I started hearing police units on the radio advising that they were en route. Was the first bit of information that I heard. And because of the number of units that were going out, and because I could hear the stress in their voices, I knew that it was something big. But I hadn't heard dispatch at that point say that it was a shooting or an active shooter. So at that moment, I decided, well, I'm gonna go down there, I'm gonna get in my patrol car, and I'm gonna head towards the incident, whatever it is or wherever it is, and see what's going on. So I went down and I got in my patrol car and I looked on my mobile data computer, and in bold red letters, it said active shooter at UCC. And I looked at that for a minute and I wasn't sure I was really seeing it right. And I started my car and I started driving northbound towards the college. And of course, during that drive, I continued to hear more units reporting in saying they were en route or saying they were a mile away, or that they were in Sutherland headed that way. I heard ambulances being dispatched. I heard fire departments being dispatched. And as I pulled onto the college road, of course, we had that road blocked. And I went through the roadblock and I got into the college. Just before I got to the college, actually, I heard the first two police officers arrive on scene, and they said that they were going out at Snyder Hall.
So they were nearby, happened to be nearby the school. And
they were, as it turns out, it was two Roseburg police detectives that were up in the north end of town. I think I heard later that they were on a coffee run. And
God for coffee, huh?
Yeah, and the call went out of an active shooter. They heard the call, and because we train this way, and most agencies, I think, around the country now, especially train this way, is it's kind of an active shooter is an all hands on deck kind of call. And if you are able to respond, no matter where you are, you respond. And though the college is outside of the city limits and it's out in the county, these city officers, that didn't stop them. They responded as if it was in their own city. And they got there just about the same time that a couple of Oregon State police officers got there. Because these two city officers knew exactly where Snyder Hall was, they were able to drive right up to the front door of Snyder Hall, room 15. As they got out of their police car, their undercover car, and began to make an approach towards the room, there was an exchange of gunfire with the shooter, and those two Roseburg officers returned fire. As it turns out, one of those rounds struck the shooter in the side, and the shooter returned back into the classroom where he had already murdered 9 fellow students and committed suicide.
So, Brenda, you were inside the room.
No, I was outside of the room in the hallway.
What were you seeing?
I had just normal day, answered my phone to my mother-in-law, actually, and we were discussing Thanksgiving plans. And I was facing out towards the parking lot, and then I heard the first pop, and I instantly thought to myself, I'm not in science. Because the previous day we had done the science project, and it was just a really loud pop, and we were just in the science building, and just instantly it was like, something's wrong, something's not right. And so I got off the phone and turned around.
Get this going.
I think it's working fine, Guy.
Not on our end.
Not on our
Not on your end.
Stupid.
This is technology.
There we go.
There you go.
Now is it doing it?
Yeah, we're good. I got a
Okay.
911 alert. I forgot to turn off my
Um,
on my phone.
I don't know where I was at.
So you're outside the class.
Oh, I instantly thought that I was, not in science and something was wrong. And that's when I turned around, and it was just chaos at that point. And so instantly 911 and instantly active shooter, and instantly my life was changed along with everyone else,
Brenda, how is this has been really, really, really hard for you.
Mm-hmm.
How's it impacted your life?
Oh man. For the first 2 years, I was pretty checked out on life, honestly.
Really?
Luckily, I walked into Cow Creek, and I, at one of my breaking points, asked for help because I severely needed help. I didn't think I was going to make it, honestly. I thought that it just needed to stop. And so my choice was to go and find help. I have 2 kids, and I knew that I had to stay alive for them and to keep going for them. And Cow Creek has done amazing with me. We did a lot of EMDR therapy. I don't know if you know anything about that, but it's like rapid eye movement, and it's an amazing therapy to start doing. And I've been doing that for about 3 years. I'm still actively in therapy. I go twice a month still, and check in and reach out when times are hard. Like today, when I talked to my therapist and
Today's when the anniversary.
my friends.
I'm sorry. So when the anniversary comes up for all of you, it's just hell.
Yes.
Yes.
It's like,
Ours starts.
yeah.
Starts right before our birthday.
Because his birthday was September 15th. He turned 20, and so it kind of, for me, it kind of starts when I see school kind of coming back, school buses and things like that out.
Back to school ads. Yeah.
Back to school thing, that, and but then like right around his birthday, I tend to start to check out, and then I'm a basket case right now. Just thinking about tomorrow, and it's a Thursday again this year. It's the first time it's been a Thursday. The weather's similar, other than a little bit of smoke and haze that we have in the air. But yeah, and then for me, it kind of goes right up until the 17th, the day that we said goodbye. So I've got a solid month where I'm just no good at all.
And you're a firefighter, right?
Yeah.
So your commander knew that your son was one of the victims.
I got a hold of them right away, trying to track him down. I had just come off duty, so I wasn't on duty. I was getting a hold of, let me try to get back in the camera, getting a hold of anybody that I knew that was going to be there, and all they knew is that they were staging. They were trying to get into the room to try to see if they could find him, but once the feds got there and kind of locked it down, there was no confirmation. But we kind of figured at that point, after within an hour, that it was over. Yeah, it was my department. It was the guys I work side by side with.
So that had to be really rough on all them too.
Oh yeah, we've had several retirements, but there's still well over half we're a department of 36 line guys, and so we still have probably 25 or 30 that were affected by it or there that day.
So you guys, one of the reasons we're doing this tonight instead of tomorrow is because when Kimberly and Janet and we all talked and stuff, we just thought it would be too hard to do this on the actual day. So that's why we're doing this tonight, because we and Kimberly, you're so funny. They were going back and forth, and finally Kimberly was talking about weather or something, and she just said, "Rick, I got to go on here because my son's life needs to be remembered." And I love that because I'm going to get to you, Janet, real quick. But Kimberly, do this for me. What was Trevon like?
He was a gentle giant. He was the kid that always protected the kid that was getting picked on. He had the biggest, gentlest heart, but he was really funny, which I love. So
funny how? How do you mean funny?
Okay, so he went to get me one of those big 5-gallon water jugs to put my change in. And when he brought it home, it's full of water, and he goes, "I don't know what to do with it." I'm like, "Well, just dump it out." And he goes, "It just feels wasteful." So I'm like, "I don't know, drink it." He picked up the jug and started chugging it, and I got a picture. It's hilarious. But he was always doing stuff like that just to make me laugh. Like one day I'm having a bad day, and he came out. I was sitting in the garage, and he came out wearing sunglasses and a fanny pack. It's actually my profile picture for the month. Just random things just to make me laugh, and I love that.
No, there was a sign he put on the wall. His bedroom door was right next to the bathroom. So if you come out of the bathroom and head out towards the living room, you either turn left and go into his bedroom or right to go down the hallway. Well, he put a sign on the wall for her one morning when he was getting ready for work. And what did it say?
The poor kid in this room needs gas money. And yeah, I gave it to him. He earned it. Here's a 20, Mommy loves you.
And then he was cleaning the bathroom one day, and it's a text that still pops up, and it's like,
oh God, that was good.
Something about
you're gonna fuck it up.
I
love you. Yeah. So he sent me. He was supposed to clean the bathroom while I was at work, and so he sent me this text halfway through my day, and he's like, "Operation Clean Bathroom almost complete. Last hostel in the shower." And then a couple minutes later, he's like, "Tango neutralized. Headed back to base."
Oh my God.
Just random stuff like that all the time. And I used to text him when he was at school, and I'm like, "I need Dutch Bros." And he's like, "Mom, I'm in class." I'm like, "Room service here sucks." And he's like, "Mom."
So Janet Perkins, Quinn. What was Quinn? What was Quinn all about?
It sounds like Trevon and Quinn were very similar in their personalities. And I remember this one time in the gym, we're training, and Larry would get so serious. He was very serious about the point he's making and what they're practicing and what he's doing. And then he said, in 6 months, you're going to see this big change. Mark my words. And so Quinn is sitting next to the little desk in the gym. He quietly picks up a yellow stick-it Post-it note, and he writes Larry's words, and then he makes a little box marked and then a little box unmarked, and then he checks the marked, and then he gets up very quietly, goes over to Larry and hands it to him. It is currently framed in the trophy case.
Nice.
It is really.
Oh yeah, it totally is. Yeah, he was, and he would. So Larry's like a really, he's a big guy, and he said if it were anyone else in the world that tried to pick him up, he would have taken him down in a heartbeat. But Quinn was super tall, and so he would shoot behind Larry and then wrap his arms around his chest and pick him up like this and pick him around. And the first time I was like, damn it, let me down like that. Then, like he'd get where we were going out to the gym, and Quinn would run up and do that. And then Larry would go, to the gym, Quinn, and then Quinn would just carry him. So yeah, stuff like that. I mean, he came home one time senior year at high school and said, you know, Mom, you might be getting a call from the school. And I said, why would I be getting a call from the school? And he said, well, there was a big senior kid that was picking on a little tiny 9th grader. And he said, and I was very nice. He said, I just used my very deepest voice. And which, you know, when I just walked up to him and tapped him on the shoulder and said, you know, hey man, that's not cool. You don't do that. But he always had his like MMA gear on. But a lot of times he also did cosplay. So he'd have his like, you know, Japanese robe over the top of that stuff. So anyway, the kid was like, okay, all right, you know. So then, you know, I asked him a few days later, how's the little kid doing that you helped out, you know? And he goes, well, now I have a new problem. He goes,
I got a new friend.
It's the new problem. And he goes, he's
Totally
everywhere.
sounds like Trevon.
He said, he's so quiet. He's like, I'll turn around and he's right there. And I almost hit him, you know. And it's when you made him feel safe. So, you know what? Invite him to sit with you and your friends at your lunch. And before long, it's going to have his own friends and be doing his own thing. And, you know, he just needs to feel safe. And that is what happened. He eventually, you know, got his own group of friends and, you know, was off doing his own thing. But it was like, he's so stealthy. He'll be standing right behind me.
So Janet, you and I have been talking, and I know that your life has changed, not just because of the loss, but it's really caused you to, over 5 years, to really do some thinking. And oh my God, she lost like how many pounds? This woman is like, I go on because I interviewed her a couple of years ago, and she comes up and I'm going, who's Twiggy? You know, because you lost a person. Like what I mean,
220 pounds.
220 pounds.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Nice.
Yeah.
So why did you do it?
I did it because Cody and Quinn were so close. And the plan was always that the boys would have each other when I died, in my mind. And I can't die and leave Cody here alone. And so I have to be healthy. So I'm not diabetic anymore. You know,
Tell them how that ended. Tell them how that ended.
Yeah, I haven't had any diabetic medication since the night before my surgery in October of 2016. Actually, I now have low blood sugars most of the time. So we've done. I was pretty desperate because my whole life, you know, my weight went up, down, up, down, up, down. And then, you know, just the shock, which, you know, we all know does horrible things to your body. So, yeah, I lost like all my eyebrows, lost all my eyelashes. I was very, like I told you when we talked about Make Your Ribbles Count, I was strategically combing up bald spots on my hair. So
yeah, now she tells me she had bald spots when we were doing this interview. I didn't notice. She did a great job covering it up.
Yeah, if I would have walked by an open flame, my whole head would have went up. Seriously, shellacked. It was, yeah. So yeah, and
there's you guys. There's someone on here, Heather, and she's saying she was on campus that day, and it's still so fresh. Is it still like that 5 years later for you guys?
yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of triggers, especially during this time of the year.
Yep.
And sounds and smells. And
What do you mean? What do you mean sounds and smells? And Brenda, move your head over so we can see you when you're talking. There you
if
go.
I hear, like right now, it's okay to hear a siren every now and then, but during this time of the year, it's like you hear sirens and you're instantly, where's that going? What's happening? Instantly. You know, the kids aren't in school right now, which for me, I feel like is a blessing because they're home with me during this time. And in the last 4 years, it's a chore to even get up and get them ready for school, to send them to school. And I have to fight against that, to not keep them home, to be sheltered with me because I want to keep them safe. And I have to, you know, fight that. So right now it's kind of like I still have them and we're enjoying it at home. And
that siren is a huge one. Yesterday I was up here at the golf course in Sutherland, and there was an incident just a mile or so out of town that didn't turn out very well, and but there were just multiple sirens, and I just wanted to know what was going on. I would get on my phone and try to see if there's anything coming up on scanner feed pages on Facebook, and nothing. It was a few hours later I found out what it was.
It does. It throws you into a
But I
panic.
mean, there was, I mean, it was so many sirens. And it wasn't, you know, I'm used to hearing sirens. You know, I like to play with them. You know? But when there's that many of them, it's like, you know, there's something bad, and it's just wound me up.
It can be small things too, like the change of weather.
Yeah.
Like as soon as the nights start getting cold and the mornings are crisp, like instant trigger, instantly back to that day. It was a beautiful day.
And
it was a crisp, cold morning, beautiful sunny afternoon. It was freaking gorgeous.
And we didn't mention anybody else that survived or anything like that. But what I think people should know, because we've just been talking, is that a lot of the people who did survive that, and some were shot and then that kind of thing, are having a really hard time. A really hard time.
I remember when I first met Brenda, and you told me how sorry you were. And I remember thinking, my God, has no one told her that this is not her fault? I mean, there's nothing anyone could have done. It was a monster that did a terrible thing. And I struggle because I want the survivors that were there to not feel like they did anything wrong. There's nothing they could have done.
Do you feel that way, Brenda?
Yeah, and it took me a long time to understand that. Like, survivor's guilt was still is, very, very real. And it was for the longest time. I'd sit at my house and just think, I can't even leave. Kim's down there and he's not coming home, and here I am, and I'm 30 years old, and he's so young, and it's not right, and all of it. It's very real, and it was really hard to move past that. It was really hard to move past that. And it still gets me every once in a while, and especially right now. And that's why it's a big point for me to come and at least message Kim on the 15th and let her know that, man, you're not alone. I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about everyone. I do check in with you.
You guys, because you don't know the inside story. So Brenda is neighbors with Kimberly and Justin. And Brenda's birthday is September 15th, and so is Trevon's.
Mm-hmm.
So they share the same birthday, and it is still his birthday. Just because he's not here, it's still his birthday.
Exactly. So he still gets balloons on his bench every year, and he gets a Dutch Bros coffee every year, right there. So absolutely.
So Sheriff, how has this changed Roseburg, Douglas County? How is it? What do you see from your position as the sheriff?
On a personal level or professional level?
Tell me first personal, because I like personal way more than professional.
Well, I was born and raised here in Roseburg, and I even took classes out at UCC before I went on to college out of town. And what's really changed for me is recognizing that no matter where you are in small town USA, there is not one community that is exempt from this kind of tragedy from possibly happening. It's a realization that hit me really hard 5 years ago. That's the first thing. The other, the second thing is this community never fails to amaze and surprise me with the outpouring of love and support and compassion that immediately steps up on the heels of a tragedy like this. And though the tragedy that we just went through here a couple weeks ago isn't anywhere close to the scale of UCC, it just once again demonstrates the type of community that we live in here, and I'm thankful for that. On a more personal level, This tragedy has made me, I think, less trusting of people. I don't want to say that I don't trust people. I'm just more. I pay attention everywhere I go to everybody that's around me. You know, and a lot of it is not just because of this incident, this tragedy, but because of the mass shootings we've had in churches and malls, you know, in all kinds of places where there's large numbers of people. Anymore, I'm constantly analyzing and sizing people up, and in a certain respect, that's kind of sad, I think.
Yeah, it's you know, it changes you. The Thurston High School shooting changed me forever, and I didn't lose anyone, but it kind of made me understand how important my community was. And I think, and I learned really quickly, because I loved when Sheriff said, we are not going to mention the shooter's name, and we aren't. You do not remember the shooter, you remember the people who were shot. And so with that one, it's Michael Nicholson and Ben Walker. I will remember their names till the day I die. The person who killed them, I will not utter their name on my lips, because they.
I have to think hard to even remember the shooter's name in this. The interesting thing about that to me is I've had an opportunity, or misfortune, I guess, to have to go around and do presentations on our tragedy here. And this last February, I went back to Michigan at a law enforcement conference back in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And I talked about some of the things that caused me problems. And one was with the media refusing to say the shooter's name. And that entire room of 300 and some police officers from Michigan gave me a standing applause for that philosophy. And it was interesting to see that on the other side of the country.
So I forgot that, because I was working media, but yeah, people were really mad because you weren't saying his name.
Correct.
Isn't that funny,
The families
Sheriff?
were mad.
Now, Sheriff,
Well, and
I love you for that.
and you're my guy. That's
Rick, what's even more interesting about it is, so we were sitting in the Joint Information Center the day that I was told we were ready to share the names of the victims. And there was, of course, a group of PIO, public information officer type people in there, including one from the FBI. And she came in and she says, Sheriff, the investigation side says they're ready for you to announce the names of the victims. Are you ready for that? And I said, yeah, I was ready for that yesterday. I wanted to get that done sooner than later, because there was some fear that we weren't going to be able to do it for several days. And I just knew that wasn't going to be popular, and it just wasn't right. So I was pushing and pushing and pushing to get that notification done soon. Anyway, she came in and she says, they're ready for you to announce. She says, and also the name of the shooter. And I looked at her and I said, no, I'll never be ready to do that. And she said, she kind of sat her back and she goes, well, I guess you don't have to. And I know I don't.
You're right.
So the plan there was,
I'm the sheriff. I don't have to do anything.
yeah, nobody can make me say somebody's name if I don't want to say it.
I am the badass sheriff.
Yeah.
Tell me what I'm going to do.
The plan then was to, of course, I was going to announce, the names of each individual student that was murdered, which I did. And then when it came to the name of the shooter, we just passed out a piece of paper with his name and his age on it.
Nice.
So the media had all that, but they acted like I wasn't sharing that information with them, and they were mad because I wouldn't verbalize his name.
Oh, screw him.
Yeah.
Anyway, Janet, I was watching your face, and when he was talking about that, and the sheriff was talking about that, you got teary. So I want you to explain to me why that means so much to you.
Oh, sweet.
Because he's a monster. And he doesn't deserve to have his name said ever in any place ever again. He took 9 innocent lives and ruined so many other people's lives. And we people who are suffering every day. You don't get to do that. That's just it. And I know that I'm not the only person who is so proud of Sheriff Hanlon for taking the news media, can I say, by their balls and just
It's my show. You can say whatever you want.
That's how I feel. I'm super proud of you, Sheriff Hanlon. You did not let the media bully you. You did not let them make you do things that were not right for this community. You stood your ground and you protected all of us. You didn't let them have the photos. You didn't do anything that could have further victimized all of us. And you deserve the credit for that.
Right.
What you did, and I know that we're all very thankful for that.
Well, I think he was instrumental in also making sure that, John, I think you went to the state and asked to make sure that photos of crime scenes like this were not going to be public record.
Exactly. Nobody needs to see that.
Nobody needs to see that. Even the redacted ones that we saw parts of were enough to, you could tell what was in that room, and it wasn't good. I actually had an interesting conversation with the media also. They did one year, I don't remember which year it was, but they did an article and mentioned the shooter's name several times, but didn't mention any of the victims. And I emailed him and he said, it's news. And I simply emailed him back, so were the victims. He said, you're right. And the next day there was a huge article on all the victims in the paper.
Good for you.
Go ahead, Janet. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying good for you. I'm glad you did that.
It's almost like we need to understand that how, and we talk in culture and society about empathy, and yet we have so little empathy for the families that go through this stuff and how you're impacted. Hey, he's just trying to get his word in too. He loved Trevon too, you know? Everybody's got a Trevon story, even the dog.
We saw a butterfly or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So can I ask you guys, I just kind of want to ask you, just like Justin, I would start with you if I could. So we're honoring your boy, your man. What do you say to him? What do you say? I want you to have the opportunity to just say what you would say.
Well, I'm just proud of the young man that he was and was becoming. And, his last dying act of heroism after he'd been shot, he knew he was dying. He wasn't going to make it. He crawled on top of the young lady sitting next to him and probably protected her and saved her life. And she ended up caring for some of the people in the room after the shooter shot himself, and it was safe. And she actually bought our lunch today. Brat.
Yeah, we ran into her in town. It was a happy surprise.
It was a happy surprise. But I know that he would have wanted everybody to continue on and do the best they can to survive and get through this. And he was a strong young man. He had big ambitions and goals. He was pretty much already engaged. She was off to college already, and he was just finishing up a few prerequisites down here, and he was going to move up to Chemeketa and get his fire science degree up there and follow in my footsteps. So I'm proud of the way he went out. I obviously wish it never would have happened, but and the outpouring of support from the community for all of us. I mean, Trevon's I just saw something on Facebook that someone posted, the city of Sutherland posted that West Intermediate School did here, where they made signs for Spirit Day tomorrow, and they're all honoring Trevon and UCC.
Oh,
He's got and he went through all 12 years here in Sutherland. So every school had him in it at some point in time here. He's got a bench in town. Sutherland's famous for their benches on Central for honoring people who've passed or been somebody in the community. And he's got a friendship bench at that same school, at West School. It's buddy bench, I guess it's called. And it's so like if you're having trouble making friends at playtime, you go sit on that bench and somebody's supposed to come sit with you to make friends with you, and that's the theory behind the buddy bench. So they honored him by doing that at the school.
That's his bench.
That's a separate bench. Yes, that's at the playground at West Intermediate School. There's also the one on Central,
and that has his name on it.
Yes,
and that's the bench for people that are feeling like nobody likes them to come and sit.
Yeah.
Right, and then somebody's supposed to come. Oh, hey, they need a friend. So somebody comes over and joins them. That's the philosophy behind it.
Oh, my God.
Trevon did that all the time. Like, there was one time, and it reminds me of your story, Janet. He came home from school. He's in, like, fourth or fifth grade. And he goes, so what happens if I get suspended from school? And I'm like, I'm going to hear more about this. And he goes, well, there's a kid that's getting picked on. And I told him if it happens again, I'm going to have to hit him. And I'm like, well, the school's going to suspend you, and I will come pick you up and take you to lunch, like, for defending someone who is smaller and, like, couldn't stick up for themselves. So, yeah, maybe not the most appropriate response as a mom, but that's how I roll.
So you two raised a really, really good man.
He's a good kid.
Yeah, a good man.
He didn't. He was always afraid to do wrong things because he was afraid, like he didn't want to skip school because he was, well, I don't know when Dad's going to be driving around town, so I don't know if he's going to see me park somewhere, and I can't come home because I never know what your schedule is, Mom, and you might just show up out of nowhere. And
so I want to thank, I see her right here, Tracy Dandola. She helped set all this up. She follows me all the time. She got this whole thing started. She's the one who told me what was going on. But she says they're still touching lives and making a difference. Quinn, Mom, tell me what you want to say about him or to him, or just talk to him.
Well, I know that we all are missing them tremendously. I miss it when he would stand in the kitchen doorway and make funny faces at me and things that make me laugh, or how he used to gross Larry out because he could turn his right foot all the way backwards.
Well, there's a
he would be in the gym and he would turn his foot backwards and start walking towards Larry, and Larry's like had a million injuries over the years, and so he would be like, oh God, put it back, put your foot back. Yeah. He his friend Jonathan, they met up the day before and they were supposed to have lunch that day, and you worried about Jonathan all the time because he was in foster care, and Quinn was not the first person that Jonathan had lost to gun violence. And he told me, he was going to school to be an attorney. So then he messaged me and told me that he quit school, that he was not going to go back to school. And then a little while later, he messaged me and he said, I think I'm going to go back to school to be a cop. Do you think that Quinn would like that? And I said, I think Quinn would be hugely proud of you.
Yeah.
So he, not only did he do that, he went back out to UCC. He is in the Air Force now in Guam, and he's an MP, and he's living his best. And that's the thing Quinn always wanted for everybody. He wanted them all to live their best lives. He just wanted everyone to be happy. I just never imagined. I don't even know how it could be 5 years old. And, Cody did not want to participate. He still struggled because they were very close. So But I'm so thankful that I got to be his mom. And I'm thankful that he was such a good person. And I'm thankful that he still has ripples out there that are doing good stuff. And that's how we're keeping him with us without feeling like we're leaving him behind. That's why we started that Make Ripples Count, you know, initially, and to thank all of our first responders. Because I can't even imagine having been there.
Those officers that day saved lives.
Yes,
They went in without any body armor or anything, and they just went in and did what they had to do.
And I feel like I owe them a huge debt that I can never repay. I feel like I owe Sheriff Hanlon a huge debt that I can never repay, because I don't think saying thank you fully encompasses how I feel. You know, I don't know that there's even words enough to say thank you, because our first responders, and it's what I told all of our first responders when we first started Make Your Ripples Count. Every day you get up and you go to work, you are making ripples, because you are keeping our community safe. And our EMTs, you are keeping people's lives. You know, you're helping our dispatchers. Are you kidding me? I can't even imagine having been in that dispatch center that day.
Yeah.
You know, but they did it, and they were cool and calm about it. You know, and they deserve huge kudos.
So Brenda,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have you close us out here, because I want them to tell them what a freaking badass you are, and kind of what has this woman. No, get your face in there. Get your face in there. So tell them what's kind of okay. You've gone to therapy. Cow Creek Tribe has really helped you through that, and that's obviously huge. But you found something else at a local gym where you're like this badass woman, and it's kind of tell people.
You know, I didn't think I was ever going to go back to work again, because my anxiety was really, really bad when I was out in public. And Sutherland has this little hometown gym. It's the Body Shop. And I went in there and I got introduced to the owner, Terry, by one of my friends. And she's like, just go in there and talk to him. So I did. And I just kind of, okay, I'm going to do this. And it was about 2.5 years after it happened. And I ended up interviewing for a job. And I didn't get the job. But he came over to me and he goes, you know, he had kind of knew what was going on. And he goes, I'm going to give you 3 months. I'm going to give you 3 months in the gym. And I want you to come in here. And I want you to work on you. And Terry, man, if he didn't see me a single day or hear from me, he was messaging me to find out what I was doing and where I was at, and if I was coming to the gym. And he built a gym rat. And all of a sudden, I started meeting people. And he would take me around, because he would see like my body language, that I was getting really nervous in the gym. So he'd take me around and introduce me to everybody. And if you've never been there, you should totally come into the gym, because it's like this little hometown. Everybody knows everybody. Perfect gossip in the morning. Right. But he gave me that. And then a few months later, he put me on the payroll, and he was like, hey, let's introduce you back into the workforce. And he gave me that opportunity. And every day that I was getting physically stronger, I was getting mentally stronger. And it was like my missing puzzle piece. And then I met the Popes, and they introduced me to the Highland Games.
This is the thing.
And basically, it's a bunch of us that just throw a bunch of heavy shit and get aggression out, right? So there's a lot of whiskey, and there's a lot of throwing heavy shit, and we all get together in kilts, which is a great time, and we throw things, and it is just a blast, and you get so lost. And that's one thing that I've really focused on, is forgetting everything that's like super stressful and takes my time and does all this crazy that doesn't matter. I'm going to keep living my life, and I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to share it with you guys and with everyone, and prove that I can reach out and be vulnerable when I need to be, and be strong when I need to be. And it's definitely feels good to be a badass and throw heavy things and know that literally if it came down to me, I could throw something at you and I'd probably knock you out. So we're gonna be all right.
Okay,
Reason
so
132
Yeah.
why I
Yeah,
love
you know,
you.
okay, so
I
two
could probably
questions.
whoop your ass. How's that? No.
Yeah. Two really quick, two really important questions. These are the most important questions for the night. Is can the sheriff and Justin and I come join you on the Highland thing?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so that's question number one. Question number
Absolutely.
two. This is really, so lean in a little because this is really like, so
Okay.
if we wear the kilt, do we wear underwear underneath?
I mean, to each their own, but I would hope so. It is a family function.
And there's always that fear of falling, and then you're really
Right, absolutely. And then, you know, when the whiskey starts to hit, you may
That's-
want some protection.
That's okay. I see that of all the things we talked about, those are super important. Look at Kimberly, she's going,
Hey,
what?
we have Highland games here in Douglas County every single year, and it's a
When you
blast.
invite me down, I want to come do a story on that.
Absolutely.
Now the sheriff's going, oh God, if I have to get reelected, this has to go.
We'll get you a kilt. Don't worry.
Fortunately, so
I think it's in Winston too, isn't it?
No, it's out in Henry's winery. now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's a really good time.
I know where that is. I can make it.
Exactly. There you go.
I have an excuse to wear a kilt. I told my wife I want to wear a kilt. She goes, that is so dumb. And I'm going, no.
No, it's so good.
Plus, I think they're kind of badass in one of those
They
things.
are badass for
Yeah.
sure.
Pretty badass.
You know,
And once you like pick up one instrument, you're like, oh yeah, now I really feel like a badass.
You guys, thank you so much for being part of this, and Sheriff for sharing your community, and and kudos to all of your men and women and all the people down there, first responders, to Justin's fellow workers that really did stop this dumbass from doing more damage than he could have done, and we pray for the other survivors, like some of the names that I now know, who are really struggling right now. And we want to make sure that they get the help that Brenda got so that they get better. And for Cody and the brothers and sisters and the siblings and the parents, you know, it's why do the good ones have to go?
Yeah.
Why do the good ones have to go?
And I just want to say, reach out. It's not easy. It's not an easy time for anyone right now. And, you know, holidays are coming up, which is hard. And it just kind of keeps going. And it's just a really hard time. And you reach out, and it just get help, you know. Cow Creek is amazing. They have an amazing behavioral unit there, and psychologists and counselors, and they've been from the get-go, I believe, right, Hanlon, right there with us and providing services and helping. So there are services out there, and it's a struggle. It is not here's a prescription and you're good to go. It could possibly be a prescription that didn't work, and then 3 months down the road, you're on another one, and then you're on another one. And it is a long road to really understand depression and anxiety and PTSD and learn it. Don't be my advice is don't be afraid of it. Know your triggers, know when to reach out for help, and reach out for help. It doesn't make you weak by any means.
No.
It makes you so much stronger to call your best friend at 2:00 in the morning and say, you're staying up with me because I got to talk to you. You know, so just reach out. And Hanlon, I've even called you a couple times when I was struggling, and it was just like, please talk to me right now because I'm about to lose my mind.
yeah,
And
I
it's anyone.
encourage you to continue to call me because it benefits and helps me too.
Yep.
You know, the memories of this thing are like the constant pounding of the surf of the ocean. You know, there's high tides and low tides, and there's constant breakers coming in. And like you've all said before, there are certain smells, certain sounds, certain times of the year that that bring back all that different range of emotions. And
One
so,
thing that we did, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
One thing that we did, it's weird. We literally talked about what we all wanted after we passed away about 2 weeks before the shooting, because Larry was writing a will. So, you know, I had always told the boys that I wanted to be cremated, and I wanted them to use my ashes and plant a tree, so that it would be someplace that's not so, you know, hard, like to go to the cemetery, you know. And so we did that, and Quinn's tree is now like, I don't know, 15 feet tall. It's huge. It's like big and strong like him.
Like him, yeah.
Right? And
Awesome.
there's windmills, and not windmills, but anyway, chimes up in the tree that you can't even reach now. But so what we started doing every year for Christmas is, you know, we break out the ladder. Of course, I'm not climbing a ladder, but you know, the Larry and Cody go up and they'll put lights up in the tree, and then we string popcorn and apples and all that, and feed all the little critters. And that's sort of, you know, Quinn's Christmas gift, and it keeps him with us, you know, at Christmas time. That's how we do that. It just, I don't know, makes it feel like he's still with us in a way.
Well, don't you think they are kind of?
Well,
I mean, they really are.
Absolutely.
All the people who were murdered.
yes.
They're still, their memory stays alive. And I mean, if you have, what I like, both of you guys, parents wise, we're talking, and you're still talking as if, not that they're still alive, but they're still your children. And I think sometimes you think people, when they die, that they stop being your kid. And I can't, but you guys, no, you guys are like, you're giving us all a whole different perspective on what this is, because they never go away, and you don't want them to.
No.
You don't want to drag them, but you don't want to you don't want to leave them either, you know?
We also wish that nobody ever, this is not a club anybody wants to belong to.
No.
It's too big of a club too.
Agreed. Yeah, definitely.
So there's a young man on here, Daniel Prine, and he keeps talking. And you guys probably know Daniel. I don't know Daniel. You don't? Well, he is going to go down and sit on the bench tonight.
Oh, he lives here in Sutherland. That's right.
Yeah, he's going to go sit on the bench. And Daniel, I don't know you either, but thank you for being part of this, dude. And that you know, and I hope that everybody watching this, especially, I mean, all over the area, do something in memory of those 9 people who died. You don't have to know people to do things in memory of them. You can just go, what if you went and bought flowers for somebody and just gave them to somebody else? Pass it on. Go buy somebody coffee. Tomorrow, buy the person in front of you coffee and think of Quinn or Trevon or Brenda or one of the victims, the sheriff, the people in the town and what they did, the parents, the cousins. Think of somebody and go do something nice for somebody, because you'll be memorializing somebody's 9 people that you don't know. And guess what? You don't have to know people to be kind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that could be like a really cool thing. If the Dutch Bros in Sutherland is swarming with people and nobody paid for their coffee tomorrow because everybody's paying it forward to the next person. We're in Roseburg, Quinn, you know, everything, every tree planted, just, you know, all this stuff is going on. And if you see a sheriff's deputy or a firefighter, go up and say, you know, thanks for what you did 5 years ago and what you continue to do. That stuff matters. And that's what we can do. If we're learning anything from this, we're a community and we work together, and this is how you solve problems. Does it bring them back? No. That doesn't happen.
No.
You know, my worry is always about the survivors, because I know that Quinn's no longer in any pain. Not that it doesn't hurt that he's gone, but I worry about all the people who are out there carrying this with them. And you know, I always want to say, you know, I'm here for you anytime, day or night, you know, I want them to understand that, like Brenda said, they need the help, reach out. It's there. You know, this community is so tight knit. I was born and raised here also, and I've never seen the community fail. You know, people might not know each other so well or whatever, but when there's an emergency, everybody rallies around and pulls together and they get things done. And if there's someone out there who's still struggling and needs the help, come forward, because the help is there for them.
Call me. I'm
Right?
serious. I've had so many friends that stay up all night
Yeah.
for days and listen, and they don't have to say anything, and strangers who would do that. So I'm serious. Reach out to anyone. Like, Facebook is an amazing thing. Literally, you can go to Messenger, just pick one person and FaceTime them. Just keep them up and keep them talking, and it's be there.
Right. But be very careful, because if it's Brenda and she's in her kilt, what the hell?
Things could get serious.
As long as you don't sass her, it's fine. Like, just don't.
Love you guys. Love you guys. If you need anything, feel free to call Rick. This was awesome.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Anything that the fake news could have done for us. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Sure,
you.
Thank you. You guys, thank you so much for being with us. And God, you're just great people. So glad we get to know you. And go back and read the messages from people, and you can comment, and it'll go to their page. And if you want to say thank you or something, you can do that. They will. Okay. All right.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Thank
I'm going
you.
to say one more thing to these guys, and then we'll go. So. That's how we do it. Okay. That's how community works. It happened in Thurston, happened here. Now it's this is in Douglas County, and it happens there. I'm really serious about tomorrow. Pay it forward to someone you don't know in honor of those 9 people who died, and all those other survivors, and those people that are still here. You buying something and doing something for someone else, you will never know what that does for people. But for the folks you just met, it's everything. I want to thank Michael Bratland, my dentist, who sponsored the show tonight. He really does care about people, cares about his community, and he was in Roseburg when this happened. So I would appreciate it if you would give him some love, because that helps us to keep doing what we're doing. I know it's hard to pitch, but sometimes you just have to. This is what we do for a living. You know, and he's a good guy, and his staff care about people. So anyway, and Tracy, again, Ms. Vandola, I want to thank you so much for giving me the idea about doing this and getting all the connections and putting it together. And you guys, when you go to sleep tonight, would you just pray for those families? Just say a little prayer for Justin and Kimberly and Janet. It's a big deal. Good night.